Pisces, if 2026 is a year for a real level up, then this chunk one is when you reinstall your operating system. Not the change your wallpaper for fun kind of reinstall, but reinstalling the way you run your emotions, your energy, your love life, and even your everyday rhythm. And I'm telling you honestly, 2026 isn't here to help you dream prettier. 2026 is here to help you live lighter, live clearer, and most importantly, live without abandoning yourself anymore. I'm calling this opening part OS, Operating System. Because everything for Pisces, from love to work, always comes back to one question: whose rhythm are you living by? If that rhythm isn't yours, you'll always feel tired, like you're trying so hard, but it still feels like you're running through water. You move, but slowly. The biggest patch of OS 2026 is this: intuition is a gift, but boundaries are what keep you safe. Sounds simple, but for Pisces, it's basically a spell. Because you're sensitive. You feel people before they speak. You walk into a room, and you instantly know who's tense, who's sad, who's carrying something. You talk to someone, and you can tell if they're real or not real, what they're hiding. You look at a relationship, and you can feel it slipping out of sync before it breaks. But the problem is, Pisces often uses intuition to save other people, more than to save yourself. You see someone sad and you hold them. You see someone tangled and you untie them. You see someone lost, and you pull them back. And when you're tired, you tell yourself, "It's fine, I can handle it." But your body doesn't like that sentence. Your nervous system likes it even less. So your new operating system in 2026 starts with something extremely simple but extremely hard. Putting yourself back at the top of the priority list. Not selfish. Not cold. Self-respect. Pisces, self-respect isn't loud. It's not, "I don't need anyone." It's, "I still love, I still care, but I won't erase myself just to keep the peace." At the start of the year, you might feel the energy get a little weird. You're more sensitive than usual. Sensitive to noise, sensitive to texts, sensitive to looks, sensitive to the things people don't say. Sometimes you'll wonder why you suddenly feel so irritated. But you're not irritated. You're just starting to hear your own voice more clearly. And when you hear it more clearly, you'll realize a truth. There are things you used to do because you were used to them, not because they were right. You're used to pleasing people. Used to holding it together to keep the peace. Used to staying quiet so things can pass. Used to playing "I'm fine," so no one worries. But 2026 won't let you live like that anymore. Your OS this year has 3 key modules: rhythm, boundaries, and clarity. Module 1 is rhythm. Pisces tends to live in on-off mode. Some days you're full of energy, and you can carry the whole world. Some days you disappear, don't reply to texts, don't want to see anyone, don't want to do anything. You think that's just your personality. But most of the time, that's a sign your nervous system is overloaded. You've got too many tabs open. You're catching too many signals. You feel everything everywhere. You receive everything everywhere. And then you come home empty. 2026 teaches you to shift from on-off to steady. Steady isn't boring. Steady is sustainable. Steady is the foundation that makes your intuition clear. Pisces intuition is like a lake. The calmer the lake, the clearer you can see the bottom. The choppier the lake, the blurrier everything looks. And your rhythm homework in this part isn't a 30-day detox or a 7-day gym challenge. It's the everyday stuff. Sleep a little earlier, snack less randomly, walk consistently, drink more water, hold your phone less at midnight. It doesn't sound spiritual, but that's Pisces' real spirituality. You care for your body, so your soul has a place to live. You soothe your nervous system, so you can hear real intuition. Module 2 is boundaries. Pisces boundaries often get misunderstood as being cold. But no, boundaries are a life buoy. Without a buoy, even if you're an amazing swimmer, you still sink. And Pisces can swim for a long time, but you're also the easiest to sink if you keep saving other people. Your 2026 boundaries can start with one small sentence. I'm not available. Not available to take on that extra task. Not available to reply right away. Not available to absorb more drama right now. Not available to keep explaining something to someone who doesn't want to understand. You don't need to fight. You don't need to slam doors. You just need to close the door gently, but firmly. Boundaries aren't to punish anyone. Boundaries are to protect you. And Module 3 is clarity. This is the most important module because it decides your whole year. Pisces often falls into the trap of ambiguity, not just in love, but in life. Ambiguous about what you want. Ambiguous about what you need. Ambiguous about whether you're hurting or just tired. 2026 forces you into clarity. Not rigid clarity. Mature clarity. Clear with your body. Today am I tired or am I sad? Clear with your emotions. Is this intuition or anxiety? Clear with love. Am I in love or am I afraid of being left? Clear with work. Am I trying or am I forcing myself? And here's the extremely important distinction you should remember right from chunk 1. Real intuition usually arrives softly, clearly, and it doesn't make you panic. It's like a quiet sentence in your head, this isn't right. Anxiety disguised as intuition arrives fast, intense, and it makes you want to control everything immediately. Text immediately, ask immediately, lock it down immediately. It's like a wave hitting your chest. If you can tell these two apart, your 2026 will hurt so much less. While your OS is updating, you'll run into a few very real-life situations. For example, you'll stop replying immediately. Before, you'd see a message and react instantly, afraid they'll be upset, afraid they'll think you're cold, afraid they'll disappear. But 2026 teaches you, you don't need to react to keep anyone. You just need to live right. The right person won't leave because you replied late once. Your practice is, if a message makes you tense, put the phone down, breathe, come back and reply when you're calm. Your calm is a weapon. When Pisces is calm, intuition is clear, words are beautiful, decisions are right. When Pisces panics, you drain yourself. You'll also start saying, I'm not available, without over-apologizing. Pisces tends to apologize for existing. Sorry I'm busy, sorry I need rest, sorry I can't help. But resting isn't a fault. Not being able to help isn't a fault. The real fault is helping until you break. So you'll practice saying, I'm not available, like an adult. Soft, but firm. No long explanations. People who respect you will understand. People who don't want to understand, they don't want to understand you, they want you to serve. And you'll look at love through a new question. Do I feel safe? Not, am I loved? Because you're starting to understand, you can be loved. But if that love keeps you from sleeping, makes you guess, makes you chase, makes you doubt yourself, it's not worth it. This year you'll prioritize the person who lets you exhale. The person who lets you be yourself. The person who doesn't make you perform. And I'm telling you honestly, safety is sexy. The right person doesn't make you dizzy. The right person makes you peaceful. A very important part of chunk 1 is your body. Your body is the speaker that broadcasts the truth. You can say you're fine, but your body doesn't know how to lie. It will signal through insomnia, headaches, a racing heart under stress, digestive issues, or a long, unexplained heaviness. If you see those signs, don't rush to call yourself weak. You're not weak. You're overloaded. You've got too many tabs open. 2026 doesn't need you to become a healthy influencer. 2026 just needs you to soothe your nervous system. Walk 15-20 minutes, take a warm shower, cut caffeine if needed. Write a few lines before bed, dim the lights and the noise. Give yourself some quiet. The less noise Pisces has, the stronger you are. And when you soften, you'll hear a very clear voice inside you. That voice isn't dramatic, it isn't panic. It's just knowing, this person doesn't fit, this job isn't right, this road isn't for me, I need rest. That's real intuition. Here's a tip I want you to keep. Real intuition doesn't make you run. It makes you stop. It makes you pause for one beat, look closely, then choose right. Chunk 1 is also when you start redefining yourself. You'll look back at old relationships, old habits, the old way you lived, and ask, am I living true to myself? That question sounds simple, but it changes a life. Because when you live true, everything flows. You're less tired, less pulled around. You love wrong less often, and work gets clearer too. If I have to close Chunk 1 with one sentence, I'll close it like this. 2026 starts with you choosing you. No noise, no drama. Just every day you choose yourself a little more. And you'll see, the moment you choose yourself, life starts choosing you back. Pisces, if Chunk 1 was reinstalling your OS, setting rhythm, boundaries, and clarity, then Chunk 2 is when you start steering. Meaning, you're not just realizing anymore, you're starting to act. You're starting to change direction. You're starting to choose your road again, in a mature way. Not steering because of mood, not steering because you're mad, not steering because you're scared, but steering by values. And I'll tell you this upfront, so you can relax. Steering doesn't mean you have to do a 180-degree life flip immediately. Pisces doesn't need to tear it down and rebuild in a weak vibe. 2026 isn't forcing you to live fast. 2026 just wants you to go right and go steady. Steering here is small but real decisions. The moments you stop at the right time. The moments you say no in the right place. The moments you choose yourself, even when the old you would have chosen someone else. At the start of Chunk 2, you'll feel something very clearly. Things start moving again. Like after the phase of reviewing, questioning, checking yourself, the universe starts opening the road. You'll feel opportunities get closer, inspiration return, your mind get brighter. But Pisces, this is also the easiest part to get swept by, because when you see light, you tend to rush. You fear losing the chance. You fear being late. You fear not making it in time. And then you steer in a hurry. So before you steer, 2026 hands you one extremely important rule, the 24-hour rule. Meaning, any big decision, especially around love, money, work, or a major change, give yourself 24 hours. Not to procrastinate, but to separate real intuition from impulse caused by exhaustion. Pace feels fast, but your decisions should be one beat slower so you don't shove yourself back into the old loop. In Chunk 2, you'll face 3 main turns: steering your emotions, steering your communication, and steering your direction. First turn, steering your emotions. Pisces has a habit of enduring silently. You let emotions accumulate like water in a tub, then when it overflows you crash, you disappear, you cut contact or you cry it out, and then tell yourself, it's fine now. But 2026 forces you to steer differently, steer early. What does steer early mean? It means you notice you're tense, heavy, tired, and you don't keep running. You stop, you rest, you say it, you adjust your pace. This is a small move, but it's insanely powerful, because it breaks the loop of hold, break, vanish. It makes you sustainable. And being sustainable is how you keep what you want: love, work, health, and confidence too. Second turn, steering your communication. There's a period that can easily make Pisces misunderstand or be misunderstood, and it can make you steer wrong if you're not awake. This is when communication gets messy, texts go off vibe, words get interpreted wrong. And Pisces easily blames yourself. I said it wrong, I overdid it, I'm a burden. But 2026 wants you to learn to steer like this. Don't self-blame first. Verify. Ask clearly. Slow down. In this period, there's one golden rule. Don't finalize decisions on emotion. You can text, you can talk, you can meet, but if you're panicking, sad, sleep-deprived, insecure, don't decide anything big. Because in that moment, You're reacting to find safety. You're not choosing. You're looking for a life buoy. And Pisces, the buoy isn't always another person. The buoy can be sleep, a proper meal, a walk, a conversation with someone trustworthy, turning back to your body instead of chasing your thoughts. Third turn, steering your direction. This is the most interesting part of Chunk 2, because it's about opportunity. You'll see doors start to open. Maybe a project, an invitation, a new learning path, a new idea, or a chance to switch environments. And Pisces will feel this is a sign. But a real sign isn't something that makes you dizzy. A real sign is something that makes you calm and clear. So before every opportunity, ask yourself one key question. Does this make me live lighter and truer? If it makes you live lighter, meaning it respects your rhythm, doesn't force you to overstrain, doesn't push you into panic, that could be the right direction. If it makes you live truer, meaning you feel like yourself, you get to use your talent, you get to grow, that's a turn worth trying. But if it makes you perform, chase, sacrifice sleep, sacrifice health, sacrifice boundaries, that's not an opportunity, that's a trap wrapped in glow. Pisces, one of the biggest lessons of Chunk 2 is, don't trade peace for the feeling of being chosen. You don't need to be chosen by a person, a job, an opportunity. You need to be chosen by you. In Chunk 2, you'll also start filtering relationships in a very natural way. Not because you're forcing yourself to be cold, not because you're trying to be distant. You just naturally lose interest in ambiguity. You lose interest in people who only bring intensity but not stability. You start craving clarity. You start craving respect. And you start craving a love you don't have to guess. This is when you learn a sentence that sounds harsh, but is absolutely necessary. Potential is not love. Potential is just a story. Real love is action. And you'll steer away from things that are only story toward what has action. Another point in Chunk 2, steering your money and your work. Pisces often lives by inspiration and kindness. You help easily, give easily, fine, I'll take it easily. But steering in 2026 is when you start managing. Managing doesn't make you less warm. Managing makes you sustainable. You start setting limits at work, not carrying everything, not rescuing deadlines with your health, not taking more just because you feel awkward. You start working smarter, steady, broken down, paced. You start seeing structure creates freedom. And when you work with structure, work doesn't swallow you. You still have a life. With money, you start understanding money is part of safety. Safety soothes your nervous system. A soothed nervous system means you don't love out of lack. You love because you want to. That's a completely different level of love. So steering here can look like saving steadily, building a small safety fund, separating spending to live from spending to fill a void. You don't need to become stingy. You just need to become someone who knows how to hold yourself. I want to close Chunk 2 with an image. You're driving on a long road. Before, you drove using other people's GPS. Someone says turn left, you turn. Someone says speed up, you hit the gas. Someone says stop, you stop. But 2026 is the year you start driving with your own GPS. And your GPS has one very clear signal. When you're on the right road, you can exhale. When you're on the wrong road, you feel heavy and panic. So if there's one sentence you carry through Chunk 2, I want it to be this. Steer one beat slower, but steer in the right direction. In Chunk 3, I'll take you deeper into communication, not just talking to other people, but communicating with yourself. How to say your needs without feeling guilty, say your boundaries without feeling like you're a bad person, and say the truth while still keeping that Pisces softness. Pisces, if Chunk 2 was when you started steering, one beat slower but in the right direction, then Chunk 3 is where you learn a skill that decides the quality of your entire 2026. Communication. Not speaking nicely, communication, but mature communication. Speaking clearly, so you don't have to guess, speaking truthfully, so you don't have to endure, and speaking at the right time, so you don't accumulate until you explode. Goal. And I'm going to say a truth that stings a little but is so accurate. Pisces doesn't lack love, you lack clarity. You care a lot, but you tend to speak in circles. You're sad, but you stay quiet. You need something, but you feel shy. You're uncomfortable, but you smile. You're afraid of losing, so you yield. And in the end, you become the most exhausted person in the relationship because you're communicating with hints instead of communicating with what I need. 2026 teaches you. Hints don't save love. Clarity saves love. But to be clear, you have to cross 3 very Pisces fears. 1. The fear of making someone sad. 2. The fear of being judged as difficult. 3. The fear that if you say it, they'll leave. And I want you to hear this carefully. If you express your needs kindly and they leave, they're not leaving because of you. They're leaving because they don't want to respect you. And that's not a loss. That's a filter. I'm calling chunk 3, clean communication. Clean here means no ambiguity, no dropping hints and then guessing, no silence and hoping they'll understand, no silent sacrifice and self-blame. Clean communication means I say it clearly, I listen clearly, and I don't invent extra scenes in my head. Because Pisces has a very special talent. You imagine extremely well. You can build a whole movie from one scene, one arc. You can read a short text and infer 10 meanings. And sometimes, that talent makes you creative. But in communication, it makes you suffer. So lesson #1 of chunk 3. Don't read minds, read facts. What are facts? Facts are actions. Clear words. Consistency. Everything you assume, project, assign meanings to, retell to yourself, that's a movie. Movies are emotionally intense, but not necessarily true. Lesson #2. Speak early. Pisces tends to let things take their time because you fear tension. You fear breaking the peace. You fear ruining a good moment. But the good moment you're trying to protect is often just silence covering a problem. The problem doesn't disappear, it waits to burst later. So in 2026, you practice speaking early. Early doesn't mean speaking while panicking. Early means speaking while you're still calm. For example, you notice something feels slightly off in how they treat you. You don't need to blow it up. You can just say softly, I feel a little hurt when this happens. I need more clarity. One sentence like that can save you from 2 weeks of spiraling. Lesson #3. State needs, not judgment. When Pisces gets upset, you often don't say it directly. You go silent, you accumulate, and then when you finally speak, it turns into you always, you never, you don't ever. Those are judgments. And judgment makes people defensive. Needs sound like, I need a clear reply, I need my time to be respected, I need stability, I need space, I need to feel safe. Needs sound soft, but they're powerful because they hit the core. You name needs, you don't have to harden. You just have to be real. Now I want to talk about communication in love, because Pisces 2026 will have a lot of tests here. Pisces, you love deeply, but you easily love in holding on mode. Holding on by yielding. Holding on by staying quiet. Holding on by enduring. Holding on by erasing yourself. But 2026 teaches you to love in building mode-wide. Build by speaking. Build by clarity. Build by honesty. A mature relationship isn't afraid of hard conversations. It needs hard conversations to grow. So in chunk 3, you'll have conversations that feel like it's time. Maybe with your partner, maybe with someone you're getting to know, maybe with friends or with family. And I know Pisces often fears starting it. You fear making things heavy. But do you know what's heaviest? Carrying it alone. So if you need the simplest opening line, here it is. There's something I want to say so we can understand each other better. That's it. No drama. No tension. You're opening a door to truth, not a door to war. And when you communicate, 2026 teaches you another skill: asking the right questions. Instead of asking, "Do you love me?" this one easily triggers panic. You ask, "Where do you think we're headed?" Instead of asking, "Why are you treating me like this?" you ask, "What are you expecting from this relationship?" Instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" you ask, "Can we clarify this again?" The right questions give you facts reduce overthinking. Less overthinking means less exhaustion. Less exhaustion means better love. Now let's talk about communication at work. Pisces often works with heart. You hate refusing, hate saying, "That's not my scope," hate asking again because you fear being judged. And then you carry more than your capacity. You rescue deadlines with your health. You rescue the team with your personal time. And then you're exhausted. But you still smile. 2026 teaches you, working with heart is good, but managing with boundaries is what lasts. Pisces work communication. This year is clarifying scope. I can do this part, that part needs more time. Clarifying real deadlines. I can deliver on this date if we prioritize A and B. And clarifying support needs. I need more data resources to ensure quality. You're not weak when you say that. You're professional. And one extremely important point: Pisces has to practice communicating with yourself. You often say heavy things to yourself. "I'm so bad, I'm a burden, I ruined it, I'm not worth it." Those sentences are like installing a virus into your OS. If your OS has a virus, no matter how hard you try, you'll lag. 2026 teaches you to speak to yourself differently. I'm tired, not incapable. I need rest, not lazy. I can redo this, not a failure. I deserve to be treated kindly, even by myself. When you speak kindly to yourself, you'll naturally communicate with others more kindly and more clearly too. Because you're not afraid anymore. I'll close chunk 3 with one short line. Don't stay silent to keep the peace. Speak clearly to keep yourself. You'll see, when you communicate cleanly, you don't lose softness. You only lose the loops that drain you. In chunk 4, I'll go into attraction and relationships, because when your OS is stable, your steering is right, your communication is clean, your magnetism changes. You'll attract better matches, and you'll detach from ambiguity in the most natural way. Pisces, in chunk 4, it gets really good. When your OS is more stable, you know how to steer slowly but correctly. You communicate more cleanly, your whole field shifts. You don't have to try to be attractive to anyone. You just live in the right rhythm, and the right people get pulled toward you. And the blurry stuff, the relationships that make you guess, strain, shrink, you naturally lose interest. I'm calling chunk 4 attraction, relationships. But not how to make your crush like you. More like how Pisces loves without burning out, loves, and still sleeps well, loves without losing yourself. And the opening sentence of this chunk is very real. Safety is sexy. Pisces often gets drawn to intensity, to mysterious people, to ambiguous vibes, to the feeling of, I have to win them. But 2026 teaches you, intensity isn't love, it's adrenaline. It makes you addicted, but it doesn't make you calm. And Pisces, deep down, you don't need adrenaline. You need calm, so your heart can breathe. In 2026, your attraction standards change. You start finding the person who makes me peaceful more attractive than the person who makes me dizzy. You start finding the clear person more attractive than the ambiguous person. You start finding the person who respects boundaries more attractive than the person who drags you into drama. And I want you to remember one filter that's insanely simple but insanely accurate. For love, friendships, and partnerships. When I'm with this person, do I sleep well? Do I have to perform? Do I have to shrink to please them? Do I feel respected? If the first two are already no, don't force it. You can care, but caring isn't a reason to stay somewhere that exhausts you. In Chunk 4, you'll watch your relationships go through a process called filtering illusions. And Pisces' way of filtering is special. It's not loud. It doesn't need cutting off, blocking, drama. It happens like, you just wake up. You naturally stop wanting to explain. You naturally stop wanting to try. You naturally stop being interested in guessing games. And that's when you know you've grown. There's something really beautiful about Pisces. You're most attractive when you're real. But you're real used to be misunderstood as fragile. This year, your real becomes steady. Steady means you don't disappear when you're uncomfortable. You say it clearly. You don't silently sacrifice and then suffer. You set boundaries. You don't love by hope. You love by action. And here I have to mention Pisces' biggest test, potential. You tend to fall in love with someone's potential. You see their good parts, their wounds, their story, and you think, I understand, I'll wait, I'll help, and then they'll change. But 2026 teaches you, potential is a story, love is action. You don't live on stories, you live on what actually happens every day. So in 2026, when you meet someone or when you're in a relationship, you practice asking one very sober question. Do this person's actions make me feel safe? Not how well they talk. Not how pretty they promise. Action. Consistency. Respect. Clarity. And this is what makes Pisces transform in love. You start loving like someone with value. You stop loving like someone who's afraid of being left. Chunk 4 also has another huge relationship layer. Relationships aren't only romance, they're your whole ecosystem. Friends, co-workers, family, partners, all of it affects your mental health. Pisces is easily drained by your ecosystem. In the right environment, you bloom fast. In the wrong environment, you wilt fast. And 2026 is the year you clean up that ecosystem. You'll have fewer people who only look for you when they need something. You'll join fewer conversations that leave you exhausted. You'll stop playing the fixer for the whole group. And you'll start choosing people who make you feel light. People you don't have to strain around, people you can be yourself with. At first it might feel strange, because you're used to believing you have to be useful to be loved. But 2026 will teach you, you don't have to be useful to be loved. You just have to be you, and the right people will value that. Now let's talk about attraction as your personal magnetism. Pisces is most magnetic when you have two things, calm and clarity. When you're calm, you don't broadcast needy energy. When you're clear, you don't broadcast ambiguous energy. And when you're not needy and not ambiguous, you attract people who are the same. Mature people, stable people, people who can actually love. So, if you want to upgrade your attraction in 2026, it's not about appearance. It's about lifestyle. You sleep better, your face glows. You reduce stress, your eyes soften. You speak more clearly, your aura gets stronger. You set boundaries, you naturally become more high value. Not high value in a snobby way. High value in a, I know my worth way. In love, 2026 will give you moments where you must choose safety or intensity. And that's when you remember, safety is sexy. The right person makes you exhale. The wrong person makes you hold your breath. If you're in a relationship, this chunk is when you look back and ask, am I building or am I holding on? Building means you both grow, stay clear, and respect each other. Holding on means you strain, you yield, you endure, you fear losing. If you realize you've been holding on, that's not your fault. It's a signal to change how you love. You can talk again. You can reset boundaries. You can love without erasing yourself. If you're single, this chunk is when you start choosing people by safety. You'll meet someone with the right vibe, but you won't rush. You'll open the door, but you won't throw the whole house open. You'll let time prove consistency. And that's a really beautiful kind of maturity. I want to close chunk 4 with one sentence. You don't need love to be rescued. You need love to be seen. Truly seen, not only the easy version of you. Respected, not held by ambiguity. Peaceful, not overstimulated. In Chunk 5, I'll take you to the part that decides your career. Because when your relationship system is cleaner, your magnetism shifts, you start making work decisions by values, not by fear. And that's when Pisces 2026 becomes clear, strong, and perfectly right person, right timing. Pisces, Chunk 5 is where you become grown for real in your career. Not the stiff, over-serious kind of grown. The clear-headed kind. You know what you want. You know what you need to do your best, and you're no longer willing to trade your mental health just to be recognized. I'm calling Chunk 5 career decisions. And before I talk about work, I want to say one very important thing. You tend to stumble because you lack structure. You have talent, intuition, sensitivity, creativity, a fast way of understanding people and problems. But without structure, you drift with mood, drift with emergencies, drift with other people's work. Then you burn out. When you burn out, confidence drops. When confidence drops, you stop choosing. And 2026 is the year you learn to choose. Choosing has 3 layers: choosing an environment, choosing a method, and choosing your values. Layer 1, choosing an environment. Pisces, a work environment is not just salary, not just a job title. An environment directly affects your nervous system. In the right environment, you bloom. In the wrong environment, you wilt. You can still do it, but you drain fast. So 2026 makes you see it clearly. Where can I exhale? Where do I have to hold my breath? And I want you to keep this set of criteria as your compass for career decisions this year. A workplace worth staying in usually keeps 4 things. 1. Respect. Your time, effort, and boundaries are respected. 2. Proper recognition. When you do well, you're recognized properly, not treated like it's just expected. 3. Room to grow. You have chances to learn, level up, and do meaningful work. 4. A rhythm that doesn't destroy your health. You don't have to rescue deadlines with sleepless nights. You don't have to live in constant panic. If an environment breaks 2, 3 out of those 4, you pay with health and confidence. And Pisces, you can be strong, but you shouldn't be strong in the end-your-everything way. Layer 2, choosing how you work. This is where 2026 can level you up fast if you are willing to adjust. Pisces often works on inspiration. When you have mood, you explode with output. When you don't, you procrastinate. And then you blame yourself. Why am I so undisciplined? But you're not undisciplined. You just don't have a steady rhythm that fits you. You don't need to become a robot. You need to become someone with a system. A Pisces work system in 2026 should have 3 things. 1. Deep work at a fixed time. Even if it's only 60, 90 minutes a day, but steady. 2. Small checklists. Don't write a giant plan, you'll get overwhelmed. Keep it small. Finishing gives you dopamine, dopamine gives you momentum. 3. Clear limits on random fires. You can't let every day burn from off-scope tasks. When you work steadily, something strange happens. You stress less, but your results get better. Because you don't get pushed into last-minute chaos. You don't have to run on adrenaline. You run on rhythm. Layer 3, choosing your values. This is the hardest layer, but it decides how far you go. Pisces has a quiet fear underneath, the fear of not being enough, not worthy, being left behind. So, sometimes you choose a job, a project, a role, not because it's right, but because it makes you feel chosen. You fear missing out. You fear saying no. You fear losing a chance. But 2026 teaches you, don't trade peace for the feeling of being validated. The best validation is validation from you. You knowing you're on the right path. You feeling yourself grow. You living in line with your values. In 2026, there will be moments where you stand in front of decisions like, Should I switch teams, companies? And should I take on another role? And should I start a personal project? And should I pursue a new learning path? And every time, don't ask, will this make me look bigger? Ask, will this help me live more right? Right here means right rhythm, right capacity, right values. One extremely powerful rule for Pisces career in 2026 is work with heart, but manage with boundaries. You can contribute, but you don't have to run empty. You can help, but you don't have to save the entire system. You can work hard, but you don't have to prove it through burnout. And I want to say something directly. 2026 will require you to say no sometimes. No to work outside your scope. No to unreasonable deadlines. No to cultures that force you to strain. And if saying no makes you shake, that's a sign you're entering your growth zone. Saying no in the right places opens yes to the right things. Now here's a storyline Pisces often gets in 2026. You'll realize your strength isn't only doing. Your strength is understanding. You understand users, customers, problems, relationship dynamics, the flow of a project, fast. So if you're in a field that needs empathy and intuition, like product, creative work, consulting, high-level customer success, data storytelling, building content systems, or any work that needs sensing trends in people, you'll be powerful. But to be powerful, you need structure. And 2026 is the year you add that structure. Another career point, money via. Pisces often treats money like secondary, but money is part of safety. Safety soothes your nervous system. A soothed nervous system means you don't make decisions out of lack. You don't accept a job because you're panicking. You don't tolerate bad terms because you're scared. You choose by values. So in 2026, you don't need to get rich overnight. You just need to manage. Build a small safety fund. Save steadily. Splending to live, from spending to fill a void. If you do that, your career naturally becomes steadier, because you're not pushed into choosing from fear. Chunk 5 also has a very real test. You might stand between stable and right. Stable is familiar work, familiar rhythm, steady pay, but you don't grow. Right might be harder at first, but you grow and you live your values. Pisces, you don't need to choose perfectly 100% each way. You just need to choose a little more right than yesterday. Every time you choose more right, you build another layer of confidence. And Pisces' confidence isn't loud confidence. It's quiet confidence. I know I can do this. I'll close Chunk 5 with one sentence. Your career in 2026 doesn't need to explode. It just needs to be right and sustainable. In Chunk 6, I'll wrap the year into 4 action seasons. Which season to lay foundations, which season to break through, which season to reset, which season to close lessons. So you can run long-form content easily, cut shorts easily, and most importantly, so Pisces listens and feels, okay, I know what I need to do now. Pisces, in Chunk 6, I'm going to wrap all of 2026 into a map that's super easy to follow. 4 action seasons. Like instead of having to remember a million things, you just remember what to do in this season, what to do in that one, when to open, when to pull back, when to push, when to close. And it fits Pisces perfectly, because you don't need to be forced into hard discipline. You just need rhythm. With rhythm, you can do it. These 4 seasons aren't weather seasons. They're energy seasons. OSs, steering, communication, relationships, career. Everything falls into 4 big campaigns. And when you run the right campaign at the right time, life feels smoother. No more start of year messy, mid-year exhausted, end of year confused. Your 2026 will have structure, and structure is what gives you freedom. Season 1. Season name, clear the ground and install OSS. Keyword, boundaries, steady rhythm, clarity. This is the season you reinstall your operating system. Not flashy, but it decides your whole year. You'll feel more sensitive, more easily drained by the wrong environment, and more awake to anything ambiguous. In this season, you don't need to explode. You just need to do 3 things right. 1. Soothe your nervous system. Sleep, eat, walk, reduce noise. Because Pisces intuition is like a lake. Calm lake, clear bottom. Choppy lake, everything blurs. 2. Set small boundaries and keep them for real. No drama. Just the sentence, I'm not available at the right time. Not available to reply right away. Not available to take on more work. Not available to absorb more drama. You'll be shocked how one small boundary can save you from so much exhaustion. 3. Practice clarity. Clear with your body, tired or sad. Clear with emotions, intuition or anxiety. Clear with love or fear of being left. Season 1 is the season you choose you. A little every day. And when you choose you, life starts choosing you back. Season 2, 12/3/28/6. Season name, build rhythm and level up. Keyword, steady, structure, skills. This is the season you start moving steadily. Things feel more open. Your mind is clearer. Opportunities feel closer. But it's also a season where it's easy to get swept, because once you see the road, you want to sprint. So the campaign of Season 2 is steadier, not more. You practice deep work at a fixed time, even if it's just 60-90 minutes a day. You break goals down, do them consistently, so dopamine comes naturally. You optimize workflow so random fires don't swallow you. You learn one skill that hits your biggest pain point, instead of learning everything at once. In Season 2, you'll realize something powerful. When you have structure, you're freer. Your mood stops deciding your entire day. You stop running on adrenaline. You run on rhythm. And this rhythm makes you sustainable. If Season 1 was close extra tabs, then Season 2 is open the right tabs. You rebuild your life system and your work system in a way you can actually keep long term. Season 3, 29/6/39. Season name, reset ambiguity and break through at the right time. Keyword, fix communication, choose values, step through the window. This is the season you steer for real. You'll face situations that force you to be clearer in communication, relationships, and work. There may be misunderstandings, vibe mismatches, or conversations you can't avoid anymore. But listen, Pisces, this isn't bad luck. This is the universe clearing the road. Season 3 has 2 main missions. Mission 1, reset ambiguity. You rewrite your communication script. You speak early, softly, and directly. You don't stay silent to keep the peace and then carry it alone. You don't use hints and then guess. You ask the right questions to get facts. Facts reduce overthinking. Less overthinking means less exhaustion. Less exhaustion means better decisions. Mission 2, step through the breakthrough window. In this season, there will be a phase that feels like the gate opens. Opportunities, ideas, new people, new paths come fast. But you only keep them if you remember one sentence: step through by values, not by mood. You ask, does this help me live lighter and truer? If yes, go. If no, even if it's tempting, don't push yourself back into the old loop. Season 3 is also the season where love locks in an attitude. You'll see clearly, the person who makes you safe is the person you want to build with. The person who makes you dizzy is the person you naturally lose interest in. Season 4, 110/31/12. Season name, close lessons and elevate your version. Keyword, redefine happiness, choose what lasts, review and unlock. This is the season you look back and realize, you've changed. You're still soft, still deep, still full of emotion. But you have a backbone. You're not easily pulled around anymore. You're not easily loving from insecurity anymore. You're not easily taking work from fear of missing out anymore. you start choosing what lasts. Season 4 is also when you redefine happiness. Happiness isn't, everything is fine. Happiness is, I'm not abandoning myself anymore. In this season, you'll close a few things. Close a work direction, or a new way of working. Close a relationship pattern, clarity, or stop. Close a life habit, sleep rhythm, rest rhythm, body care rhythm. Close a belief, I deserve to be treated kindly, even by myself. And at the end of the year, you'll feel something very Pisces but very powerful, I know. No panic, no running, no proving. Just knowing. Now I'll close chunk 6 with a super short compass for your whole 2026. Season 1, reduce noise, set boundaries, install OS. Season 2, build rhythm, learn right, move steadily. Season 3, speak clearly, reset ambiguity, break through by values. Season 4, choose what lasts, close lessons, step into the new year with clarity. Pisces, 2026 isn't taking your dreaminess away. It's just turning your dreams into something you can actually live. And when you can live it, you'll see you're not weak. You're just sensitive. And when you're sensitive with a system, you'll be strong in a really beautiful way.